What's up, guys? It's Gabriel here. So I'm in live from Alicante, Spain right now, and you're about to watch the second part of the podcast that we did with my very good friends Jordan, Bradley, and Francesco about the IPGA model, but also about our lives. If you did not watch the first part, I will let just down in the description the link to the channel of Francesco, where you will be able to find the first episode. And if you watch it already, then I can just say one thing: enjoy the next part and don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, well, I guess I will have to try to make it, let's say, clear as possible and not take too long, because I think, do a whole podcast over my young life, because I'm only 23, but I did a lot of stuff the last 5 years with COVID and everything that happened. So basically, my name is Gabriel. I'm 23, like I just said, and I currently live in Alicante in Spain, but I am from Belgium. So you will see that I have that little French accent. I don't have the best English like Jordan, my good friend, but you'll have to deal with it. So anyway, the way I started like everything in my entrepreneurial life, I think when I was 17, I had that big moment. I think Francesco, you will resonate a lot with that. It's like, it's the last year of school or high school, it doesn't matter. Like, the last year before you're supposed to choose if you go to university or if you go maybe for 1 year in Australia or whatever. And I was like, fuck, I don't know what to do with my life. Basically, like everybody else. But I knew one thing for a fact, is that I didn't want it to stay in like a job until 50, 60 years old. And then after that, enjoy my life. So I was like, I need to find something. And that thing needs to be different, because I don't want just to live the standard modern life. I really don't want that. And at that time, there was a guy on YouTube that was really popping off in the French industry called Yomi Denzel. Maybe you heard of him, or I'm sure like you at least know his face. He's very, very famous nowadays. And he was like the biggest dropshipping gurus of that year, and still now like it's like more selling course and everything. But at that time, he was like the only French guy doing dropshipping. And I bought his course directly at 17. I tried a lot of different jobs. Some were like just waste of money. Some I managed to make some like break even luckily. But I ended up understanding that dropshipping was maybe a way of doing money. But I didn't have like that fire inside me, like waking up the morning, like, hey, let's do some dropshipping. It's like, it's kind of boring actually. And I always like to have that, let's say, social interaction. So dropshipping is not the best business model for that actually. So anyway, I finished school, and I always loved to train. Like, I was a big gym bro. Like at school, everybody know me for that. Like I was like the gym guy, and I always loved to help my friends to train and everything. So I found like actually a workshop, like a training that was very, very short and very intense, to become a personal trainer at 18 years old. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to waste maybe 3 years in the university doing something super general to after that not even be qualified to work. So let's take just a quick path. Boom, I did the course. I became personal trainer at 18 years old. I started to work there for 2 years, and COVID arrived. So everything shut off, and I had nothing. At that time, I met a guy at the gym that was like, had a quick place, like a small apartment in Torrevieja in Spain. And he was like, Gabriel, everything is closed in Belgium. If we need to be close somewhere, let's be like locked up in a place where there is sun, at least. So like, okay, let's go. And long story short, I was doing also music with that guy. So we came in Spain, and like, yeah, I took my guitar. I was like, let's go, let's do some albums and everything. My friend had a manager at the time, so we had like a lot of projects, maybe to work with some famous radio in Belgium. But anyway, like that not went very well, but that was a great experience. And once I arrived in Spain, we met a guy that had a real estate agency here, like a Swedish and Spanish agency. And I knew for a fact they had nobody speaking French, so I just called the boss and say, hey, I can work for you. I speak French. He's like, okay, come tomorrow at the office, interview directly. So that is when I bought my first watch, because I was a personal trainer before, so just jogging, hoodie all the time, all year long. It was very chill, and I love that lifestyle. But now I was going to maybe be a real estate agent. So I remember that night after the call, I went to the shopping mall. I bought like some Zara clothes, a little Festina, very affordable. I was like, okay, let's go tomorrow interview. And the guy was just like, you speak French, you speak English, you present yourself properly. Let's go. Like you start to work. So I end up at 20 years old, start directly in the real estate industry, because in Spain you don't have to do any like study or anything. It's like, you want to be a real estate agent, just say you are, and that's it. Like personal trainer in a
Awesome.
lot of
Awesome.
countries. Yeah, so it's like, it's good because it's very accessible, but the industry is not professional at all, and it's a mess. Like in Spain, I'm not going to go in that topic because it's going to be long. But anyway, I've worked for almost 2-3 years in Spain as a real estate agent. It was a very good experience. I learned a lot about selling and everything. And I arrived to a point where I was like, what will be the plan for the next following years? Because I like what I do, but I always have that constraint of the physical business, or just having the
Yeah.
office, or maybe like the boss was like, Gabriel, in a few months you will be the head of this office. So like, I cannot travel. I'm not free
Yeah.
as I thought. So it was not like, I didn't have that feeling like, yes, I'm on the right path. So I bought the course of Iman, to make it short. I bought the course of Iman. I started SMMA in Spain here because it's a small village. They call it a pueblo in Spanish. So they're late on everything in life, in business. It's pretty crazy. So marketing is like something pretty new here. So I'm like, let's go. I'm going to eat the whole cost, being the marketing guy, make a lot of money. No, it didn't pass like that, because the thing is, I had to really educate everybody on marketing, like from zero, and then they didn't have any money to allocate to marketing, so it was a mess. I tried with a guy in solar panels. I ended up like having to giving back the money because it was like really not good. And after that, I joined another community actually that was way more professional, the one of Serge Gattari. I don't know if you guys, I know Jordan, you know it because you're actually the one who like show him to me. So I'm very grateful for that. And I learned a lot through that course. It's like very, very like professional. And it introduced to me like that notion of being a growth partner, not just an SMMA or just having a digital marketing agency. Because, well, it has been already a few years, everybody's rushing into the SMMA. So there's a lot of, other person in the same industry. So you have to be different. You don't have to sell commodities. You need to be actually good at what you are. And you need to understand the people you work with to bring as much value as possible. Also, just for the sake of having like a quality agency, but for the sake of charging properly, like good amounts to be able to grow. And I decided that as I had a lot of experience in the real estate, that I was going to do something in that niche. So
Yeah.
I was going to prepare to build like infrastructure to like just build and release inside real estate agencies. And I decided to go for a market where they have money and they are like not late as in my like place in Spain. And directly I was like, Habibi, let's go to Dubai. Directly. Like,
Like
let's
that.
let's not waste any time, you know. So I started some publicity for my agency. I had like almost 60 calls with a lot of agents from Dubai. It was also a very great experience. And I understood that on paper, my plan was very good, but the problem was that people in Dubai, they only trust people that are from there actually, or at least if you don't have any results or numbers to show, you can be like the most friendly guy. It doesn't matter. When it's about business, you need to be able to show, your experience, your results and everything. And also I had a model where my growth were like related to just the honesty of the other parts. So that was very hard to grow because I didn't have the control over it. And that put me like in a lot of stress because I actually ended up signing my first real estate agent in Dubai. But I was like, I don't feel comfortable because I don't know how I'm going to deal with it actually on the long term. Because if the guy want to lie to me, he's like, it's in his interest. And I didn't have anything in any system in place to track all that I needed. And also just basically because I understood that I was doing that because I had nothing else on the side. So I was not really passionate about what I did. I just had to do something because well, I left the real estate agency, so I needed to do something with my life. And then, well, I took a big decision in early 2024 because I spoke a lot, well, with Jordan again. I just came back from Spain. I was in Belgium for Christmas with my family. I was supposed to have my onboarding call with my clients on like the 4th of January. So it was the 3rd of Jan here. And at night, I had a long conversation with Jordan. I was like, man, I signed that guy, but I don't feel so good. You know, like, oof, I had a feeling, but it's normal to have that with your first clients. Of course, it's totally normal. You're like, being an entrepreneur is just managing chaos, stress, and your tolerance level like increase with time. But I knew the model was not right. I knew like it was a thing that was not going to just make me happy to do it. I just did that for the sake of doing it. And he spoke to me about that model of IPGA. And I was like, that sounds actually very, very good. And that night was the last night of there was still the offer for the course of Sender. So Jordan told me like, listen, you have 2 hours. After that, the price is going to triple.
You have 2 hours.
And I was like, fuck it, man, fuck it. So I just, I took the course. The next day I had a call with the agents and explained everything. And I had to like, well, kick him. And everything went very well. I had to kick also my VA because I had a little bit of infrastructure, well, prepared already for my agency. And now it has been 3 weeks. I'm inside the IPGA model and looking forward to start normally my first client next week. But that's the resume of everything. Yeah, that was a lot.
So we've all
Truly
been busy.
Truly
Yeah.
awesome. Just one
A
second.
busy
I'm
life.
going to grab a little bit of water and I'll be back in a second.
We will be back after this commercial break.
Yeah, stay tuned.
I'll do the same.
Yeah, we've been pretty busy, huh?
Yeah. I don't even like remember being in school. It's like that's how much I think like the last couple of years they just flew by. Especially like even like if you take your path, right? Where you travel and then you just like have to kind of find yourself and re-find yourself over and over. It's like the time just flies by and before you notice it's like, oh shit, a year went by. It's like,
Exactly.
oh, what was I doing this year, right? And then you look around you and you see people
Totally.
have kind of moved on and they're just like, I still don't even know what I'm doing. It's like I can barely remember what I did last week. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. And you're over here just telling me, oh, I'm now going to go to Dubai in the next 6 months. I'm doing this. I'm like, bro.
No, I totally feel you because, well, actually, that's one of the reasons that's lead me to start a YouTube channel because I was like, so many things happen like in my last 2-3 years because I just put myself in the place of just like taking a risk and changing environment and everything to just force to grow. Because if you stay like at the same place, you will never. And I was like, oh, I should have started YouTube so like earlier because I had so many great things to show and everything. And now just like I feel like 5 years just went boom like this.
Yeah.
And I had also that big feeling because I have a smaller brother. And well, he was like 12, 13 when I left. Now he's like fucking 18. He's like, he's taller than me, this motherfucker. So I'm like, what the fuck happened? You know?
Kind of scary, man. Kind of
Yeah.
scary.
Time
How
flies
time
when you're like
passes.
this. And I think that's so important to sometimes like, take some time to be just grateful for the whole journey that you've been on already and do some content to have some memories also, not just for the sake of being famous. I think it's a very nice way to just keep some memories and share your life with other people to maybe help them. So
I thought a couple of times just, having a TV series about my life. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah,
how cool is that?
Francesco
Like,
show.
sitting back, exactly. Sitting back one night and watching all you've been through and like being happy and satisfied and like watch and say, oh man, that was a fucking hard time.
Yeah.
But I got through that and now I'm here watching back all of that stuff.
Absolutely, man.
So we spoke about the past. What if now we just talk a little bit about our future? What are we going to do in the long term? What is our vision and stuff like that?
Sick.
Yeah. Anybody want to start?
Where to start, guys?
You go. Go on, Brady.
Alrighty. Well, I got big dreams. Let's put it that way, right? So if you have I want to say like if you have nothing in the beginning, you set yourself a goal, and then once you've reached that goal and you get into the habit of reaching and just getting into the sense of working hard and fulfilling little tiny milestones, it becomes a habit, and it's one of the hardest habits to break. That's why I hate like self-development. I hate that shit. It's like I do it, but it's this curse of you will never get to the point you think like, oh, now I'm finally happy. I got
Yeah.
everything that I need. Is that no? It's like you think you have it, but then there's this new thing that came out. And you're like, okay, now I got to optimize my sleep. Now I got to do this. I got to do that. Right. So for me, it was always, all right, I just want to have 1 million. No, it wasn't even that. It was just like, oh, I just want to have like 100,000. I want to be able to live a life that's okay, so that anything I want, I can buy. And then you get to that point, they're just like, okay, I want to touch the million. Then you get to that point, and then you just notice, okay, the money isn't like what makes me happy. It's the idea of being able to do whatever I want when I want and actually live life and like live life on your own terms, better said. So once you get to a point where you start looking at stuff and you're just like, oh, there's a house that costs 100,000 or like 500,000, and then you see there's a watch that costs 1 million, and then you're just like, wait a minute, like a watch costs more than a house, weird. And then you see, oh, there's a car that just sold for 100 million. You're like, there are people out there spending 100 million on a car, and I'm over here like thinking 12 times if I'm going to spend 12 euros on a McDonald's menu, right? Because it just doesn't seem fair to the world. So that just changed my whole perspective, and I was just like, I need to become a billionaire. Because I don't know, it's just like, if it's a goal that can be reached, why not try it, right? If I fail, what's the worst that could happen? I land at like 500 million. Oh shit, I'm so sorry. Like,
I'm so bad. It was so bad. I mean, only 500 million.
Yeah. See, so that's like always been my thought. It's like, all right, let's go big, and then if we fail, it's like, all right, you still land somewhere really comfortable.
Exactly. The old saying, if you aim for the moon, you'll hit the stars. At the worst, I mean,
that's the dumbest shit you could say, because stars are further away than the moon. So that just makes no sense. I mean, but it's okay.
It's a dumb saying. Like from where I am, they say like that. I mean, it's kind of stupid, but
it's an international thing. But it's like, if you think about it, it just doesn't make any sense. But it's okay. So for me, it's just honestly to become a billionaire. So for now, it's like a whole bunch of long-term thinking, a whole bunch of long-term games that I'm trying to play, getting influenced by not just like older people who've been in business way longer than I have. I also set like an age limit. I'm not going to be listening to Warren Buffett, even if he is like one of the greatest investors of all time. I just think like his thinking is really old. So I like taking inspiration from newer people and appreciating the speed that people younger than me tend to have, and using speed to my advantage, as well as the experience and mentors that I've had in my life to kind of like just use that as a guide. IPGA is going to be a business model for me personally, where I think it's going to get me on the right path, because I already have like a business idea of exactly what it is that I want to do that could get me to that point, or at least halfway there. And tying it in with IPGA is just going to allow me to test the product before actually launching it, so that once I kind of have that client environment around me and I know, okay, this is how I should build courses and this is how I want to treat the consumer at the end of the day, then I can just implement all that, put it into that one project that's going to be like my last project, and then send it off into the world, see what happens. And awesome. 45, I've set my goal like when I'm 45, because my son's going to be 18 by that time, and it's just like living that Bezos life from there on out. Just go full on balls, just look jacked as fuck, bro.
That's the good life.
If your son doesn't get bullied for having daddy's money and a hot mom,
he's never going to get bullied for having my money, because I'm going to teach him, like, just don't fucking care. Honestly, there's always going to be somebody who's willing to talk shit, and it's not because they don't have it. It's just because they're bitter with what they don't have, right? So it's just like, if you lack in something, you're always going to hate on the people who do have it. So it's going to be my job is not to be a dad who gives, or I see like parenting in general. It's like, it's not my job to make sure that he likes me or he loves me or like he has everything he needs. My job is to make sure that he ends up being a good person, because one day I'm not going to be here, and the person that he is and stands on his 2 feet as has to be a person worthy of like actually deserving of life to some degree, right? And money's not going to teach him that. He will have the money, he will have the resources to make his life easier, but he will also have the knowledge and, I want to say, the heart to understand that this money isn't just there so that you can take cocaine and fuck hookers, right? It's like, hey, let's help people. Let's make a difference as much as we can. Let's try to push this thing in a positive direction. Because if it was built off of positive thoughts and positivity in general, then it's only his job to kind of like fulfill that and make it 10 times better.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
That's
if he fucks
also
it up,
my
I will come out of my grave and just like take away his inheritance.
I'll be there to correct him. Don't worry.
No problem. Put you in the will.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of my goal too. I mean, I'm thinking really about my future family and legacy, and really what I wanna my family and future generations to be is literally a family that helps evolve the world. You know, my goal for right now is something relatively small for what I plan and I want my family to achieve throughout hundreds of years to come, like that. Obviously, I won't be here to see, but from the bottom of my heart, that's what I aim for.
You got it, bro. You're 17. It's like you got life and some left in front of you.
Yes. But yeah, as you said, I'm quite ambitious too, and I tend to really think long term. I mean, speaking of my like relatively long term goals, I mean the nearest one is like 20 years. Most short term thing that I'm thinking about is 20 years ahead, and I really tend to think that way because one of my first goals is to actually be remembered throughout the centuries, and which is quite ambitious, I know that, but like I want my family to have a big house and my picture inside the main hall. That's the idea. That's the
Italian talking.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's quite interesting to like it's an interesting goal, and I feel I can relate to it a lot, especially when I was younger. I was also on, I guess, a similar wavelength where I had this ambition of building a legacy and having like my name mean something throughout history. But like as I've grown up a little bit the past few years, I've realized that for myself at least, I don't really care too much about the next like 10 generations, but rather like the next 2. And I feel like for me, realistically, I don't need to be remembered, because I feel like my existence on this earth is a very short period of time, and I don't necessarily feel the need to be remembered. I just want to make sure that the time that I spend on this earth is made I just leave this earth with a positive impact, and make sure that just like my kids and their kids are good. But like past that, I feel like that's also the responsibility of like the people that come after me, because I feel like you can if you want to, but I personally don't want to take away the responsibility of my like future generations lives. So I feel like it's also disempowering them if you just assume that you're going to be the one to provide for like the next 10 generations. And I feel like it's also important for each of us individually to kind of be the master of our own lives. And if we're always relying on somebody else to give us the good life, it also takes away from your own power. So my philosophy on like my long-term vision has changed a little bit over the past few years, because when I was 18, I also wanted to be a billionaire. But I realized today that this isn't necessarily what I want. I'm more so focused on the 100 million range, because I feel like that way I'm able to live the good life, achieve everything like in terms of like the life experiences that I want to experience, I'm able to have all of that, have the resources to build something meaningful. Because I also yeah, I really like the IPGA space because I'm also a big advocate of learning and education in general. Because I've never cared about the traditional educational system. I always felt that it was really flawed and that it didn't really bring out the best out of like individuals because it was super systemized. And so when I discovered this whole online space and like online courses, I saw an opportunity for me to gain knowledge from people who had actually achieved the things that I wanted to achieve. And I loved how accessible everything has been made because in university, depending on the countries, like if you really want to get like high level education, it's going to cost you so much money. And I feel like it's just not realistic at a young age to be able to tap into I mean, unless you have like rich parents, it's very unrealistic for a normal person to have access to the quality of information that these expensive universities offer. And so I want to make sure that through like my business, I'm also able to empower like experts and creators to build something of value that is like, I guess, somewhat accessible depending on like the target audience. But that's something that I want to bring out of my business. And it's also not just like with my IPGA in the sense of like the clients that I have, but I also want to take some of the money that will be generated for myself and to put that into other projects that are like also around education and like kind of do a little bit of philanthropy. But I'm very set on the idea that first you need to set yourself up in a like sustainable way before you can start to like pour into other people's cups, because if your cup isn't full, then you're just it's you're just breaking the cycle and you're not building this positive flywheel that will just help fill everybody's cups. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of my vision for the future.
I love that.
All right. Well, after all those very inspirational goals, I think I might share mine that might made you like laugh a little bit. About like long-term vision and long-term goals. I think I saw myself like I see myself in 20 years in Costa Rica, like big farm near of the sea, drinking raw milk from the farm, tanning my balls, good life, the real man's life,
Gabriel got them
My
short
balls.
shorts on.
But like more seriously, I think before I always had, and I took the time to plan some very long-term goals, like big numbers, really like big things. And in the end, I realized that as an entrepreneur, it is very, very important to see the future, but to live in the present. That's like so, so, so important because, yeah, we're all running after big numbers, creating business and everything. But I mean, the most important is like enjoying the journey, just enjoying the process, like learning to know like who you are, what do you like, being happy in just like the time that you have today, because today is all you have at the end. It's like so I didn't made like such long-term goals because I'm more currently working on being happy but not satisfied, and try to always keep that balance all the time, every day. Because I mean, if you're in that stage where you're just like hustling, maybe you can hold that for a few weeks, but after that you will just burn your nervous system, and then you can go down like in that hole that is like very hard to get back to. And I learned also that when you're working just alone, you could actually burn out yourself just in your brain without doing anything, just with like how you talk to yourself in your
Yeah.
brain. Are you able to control your own mind? What's like is happening there is so, so, so important. And just because I want to have a great impact in my surroundings, either my friends, my family, my future children, I think the most important is to take care of yourself first and just make sure that you are the best man you can be. And I don't need to make like hundreds of millions. I just need to be like geographically free, independently, financially free, and being able to do whatever I can, like when I want, and that's it. And just work every day and become the best man possible. And one of the goals that I actually would like to materialize in this life would be to create something to help just the young, like, let's say, boys in our generation. I think they like some, we like to have some real models, like
Yeah,
man
some
model,
guidance.
digital. And I think it's so important to sometimes not just follow the crowd. Everybody's just going to, like, yeah, I want to make millions, I want to go live in Dubai, but hey, like, life is not just all about that, you know. Money is good, but at the end of the day, when you will be like on your deathbed, there's other things that you will just take in consideration. And if you're not aware of those now, you will have so many regrets, but like so many fucking regrets. So yeah, more just like living like from day to day performance. That's the thing I really like to do, because I think that's, as a an like digital entrepreneur, you have to be able to be flexible. You have to be able to see always the opportunities that's around yourself, and be aware of that. Not let them distract you, but be aware. That's very important. And make sure that you actually live every day.
Yeah.
That's, I think, very
Absolutely
important goal.
agree.
No, but what you
Absolutely.
just said about like one day you're gonna be old and you're gonna be on your deathbed, right? It's like for me that was always something I've had in the back of my mind, and that's why I always had, it's like I want to be a young father. I don't want to be like one of those guys who's like 35, 40, and then you get a kid, because what are you gonna do? It's like you're in the middle of all these hectic stuff. Now you're gonna start instilling old traditions and customs into your child, not appreciating the fact that they're born in a completely different time. Plus, for me, it was always just important. It's like I need to have the energy to be able to like keep up with my kid. I want to be able to like basically grow up with him. And for me, the past year, because he's one now, has been like the funnest year of my life, just because I have the energy, I can do all this stuff with him. And even if he wakes up at like 3 a.m, which he does nowadays, it's like, oh, it's 3 a.m. What are we gonna do now? Get like just slapped in the face. I'm like, Jesus Christ! If you were somebody else's kid, I would have thrown you out the window. But and then we just like end up sitting in the living room, and then we're watching like on Disney Plus. They have I don't want to call it a movie because it's not, but it's a video of Dory from Nemo. So it's called Dory's Reef Cam, right? And they just have like fish swimming, and we watched that for like 2 hours. Just like, and it's a looped video that we just watch, and you hear like water the whole time. We watch that until he falls asleep. For me, I've come to notice, and I used to find it really weird when parents would do this. I'm like, on my phone, you'll only find pictures of my son and my wife. It's like, I've never been a person who like takes pictures or whatever, but I have taken more pictures of my wife and son in the past year than think I've ever taken any pictures in my life. And I talk about my son so much. Now I understand like why other parents do it, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. I've sat down in front of people who have 100 times more than I could even like really imagine having, right? And being able to talk to them, you're just like, oh, this is so awesome, this is so fun. But at the end of the day, I'm exhausted. I'm just like, I just want to go home. Like, because at the end of the day, no matter what business you build, even for me, a person who says I want to become a billionaire, for me, it's just like, oh, okay, it's a personal mission. If I don't get to that mission, I'm like, I don't care. I have a family who loves me at the end of the day. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm
Most
so
important
sorry.
thing.
Like, life is this beautiful thing, and like you said, we need to appreciate the fact that you have it. Like the chances of you being here, I think it's like 1 in 4 trillion, and that's just based off of sperm, right? That you just ended up being here. Your existence alone is like, you might not have been here. You could have ended up in a sock or like in the toilet, right? But you ended up
Yeah,
being
I
here
shouldn't be here.
because your
I
parents
shouldn't be
made
here.
the right decision. And just based off of that, it's like you should be thankful that you can participate in this awesome thing, that you can actually enjoy different cultures, different all these other stuff. And even your existence means you're already a winner. So if you change your minds and you're like, bro, I'm already winning, because people died in the past. Like, there are people who existed who we do not even know of till this day. But you are the you are the product of just lineage of people surviving through the plague and all this shit, like surviving wars and all that, and then you ended up, and now you're over here telling me it's like, oh no, life is so
Yeah,
shitty. It's like, bro,
complaining.
calm the fuck down, bro. People
Totally.
used to die because they had a cold, and you're over
Yeah.
here crying that your Wi-Fi is slow. It's like, calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't
Appreciate
understand.
life more,
I
and
don't
things
understand.
will show up for you. And once those things show up for you, you'll see opportunities that you might have been missing, like in the past. And if you can live in the moment and actually just seize that moment and just enjoy this kind of ride that you're on, life becomes so beautiful. It just becomes so much fun. And like money is the byproduct of all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think money has to be more like the consequence of what you do, but not like the motivation. It's like it will come if you're on the right path and
Yeah.
you're just aligned with yourself and you're doing the good things. It will come. It
Yeah,
will
because
find its way to you.